Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 63 based on novel. So let's start. At the forward exit, the three people present all looked frozen, their mouths opened slightly, and a look of surprise rushed into their eyes. Turning slowly, Mo Zhai looked at the expression on the three faces in front of him and smiled with satisfaction. He looked at Yang Bing and said with a smile, "Elder Yang Bing, you should know more about this double bully than I do from your point of view." Yang Bing's face coagulated again. When he thought of the two people, a deep and dignified color rushed into his heart. On one side, Hu Laoge and who looked forward, as if they were waiting for his opening. A moment later, Yang Bing looked up at Mo Zhai, hesitated slightly, and said indifferently, "The Savage Double Tyrants, also known as the Savage North and South Double Respect." Hearing the speech, Hu Laoge and Zhong Hao nodded slightly. They all know a little about these. After all, the two people's reputation in this wilderness is so popular that as long as someone sees them, they will recognize them. The reason why they are called North and South is that one of them lives in seclusion in the south of the wild city, while the other lives in the north of the city. Speaking of the south of the city, Yang Bing involuntarily swallowed a mouthful of saliva, while as for the north of the city, his face showed a deep color of fear. The one in the south of the city, needless to say, you should know that it is Luo Laro. Although I knew it in my heart for a long time, I still trembled when I mentioned Luo Laro and Hu Laoge. Luo Laro's deterrence made them lose the glory of being a semi-emperor at this moment. The one in the north of the city. At this point, Yang Bing's words, which had not yet been completely exported, gave a slight pause, his eyes narrowed slightly, and his eyes stared at the void in front of him. The invisible pressure twisted the void, and then exploded with a low bang. Mu Han, called Mu Shi, the third-order array mage whose soul power has stepped into the realm of unity, has stepped into the later stage of the 9-star and half emperor, and is only one step away from breaking through the real fighting emperor. You must know this very well. For a long time, Yang Bing's voice was low and calm, and his tone was cold. Only in that discourse, it was not difficult to hear Yang Bing's deep fear of Mu Han. "Oh, yes, the person I want to talk about is the third-order array mage who lives in the north of the wild ancient city, Mu Han." Yang Bing's words fell. Mo Zhai immediately took over and opened his mouth to go straight to the theme. As soon as they said this, Yang Bing's face changed again. I didn't expect that Mo Zhai in front of me was so bold and dared to put his idea on this man. Do you really think people can look up to you as a second-class herbalist? In this regard, Mo Zhai seemed to know something. His eyes swept across his face, also with incredible old Hu and Zhong Hao, and finally fell on Yang Bing. The palm under his sleeve robe trembled slightly, and a palm-sized jade bottle appeared in Mo Zhai's hand. Displaying the jade bottle in front of Yang Bing, Mo Zhai smiled with a sinister face. "Elder Yang Bing, do you remember Fang Zun and Wang Qi?" Yang Bing looked stunned, then nodded with a gloomy face. The reason why he would help Mo Zhai to fight Xiao Yang was that Fang Zun, Wang Qi and Wang Qi were people of his Haiyun Palace and his men. They died in Xiao Yang's hands. Naturally, he wanted to settle accounts with him. But then, Yang Bing's face suddenly changed. According to the meaning of Mo Zhai's words, is it difficult? Hihi, Elder Yang Bing must have thought of it. Mu Han has a disciple who is very loved by him. His name is Wu Mohui, and he also died in the hands of the rock owl. Hiss. Without much thought, Yang Bing and the three immediately knew that Wu Mohui's death must be related to Mo Zhai. It is very likely that Wu Mohui was bewitched by Mo Zhai, so he met Yang Owl. At this moment, Yang Bing, who was even the peak of the late 8-star and half emperor, couldn't help feeling a burst of panic at the 3-star and half emperor Mo Zhai in front of him. It's really a non-toxic husband. This guy dares to fight anyone's mind. Do you really think Mu Han is so easy to use? The old eyes narrowed, Yang Bing's eyes fell on the jade bottle in Mo Zhai's hand and said in a deep voice, "What is this? Do you want to use this to make Mu Han attack the rock owl?" Mo Zhai smiled lightly, nodded and said, "Oh, enough. What is in full bloom here is a wisp of Wu Mohui's breath. As long as Mu Han sees this, he will naturally believe it." Hearing the speech, Yang Bing's heart was cold again. In order to deal with Xiao Yang, Mo Zhai thought about all aspects. In this way, as long as Mu Han shot at that time, Ren Yangxiao had more means. Under the strong strength of the 9-star and half emperor, he was good for nothing after all. Aren't you afraid to tell Mu Han the news of Wu Mohui's death? He killed you first. You know, he loves this disciple very much, But he won't let you go easily because you died at the hands of the rock owl. At this time, even the old monster sitting on one side who has been silent can't help but make a cold voice to Mojai. He can't let Mojai die like this. After all, Hu Leoge is different from Yang Bing. The latter is mainly to help Mojai about Fang Zun and Wang Qi, but he is purely for the pill in Mojai's hand. If he is slapped dead by Mu Han at this time, who does he want to pay? Mojai smiled again when he heard the speech. He had expected this. With his heart, he could never take his life for a rock owl. Ha ha, brother who cares about me. Don't worry. As long as Xiao Yang doesn't die, Master Mu won't fight me. When they heard the speech, they couldn't help picking their eyebrows. They looked at each other, but they were not clear about the key point of Mojai's sales. Ha ha ha. Next, I hope you can go to the north of the city with me. At that time, the death of Rock Owl is a certainty. Ha ha ha. Time suddenly passed. While Xiao Yang fully recovered on the third day, a dark crowd had already gathered over the wild ancient city. Needless to say, these people came to watch the war between Xiao Yang and Lin Fenglin Yu today. Xiao Yang, as the most dazzling new star in the wild ancient city in recent 100 years, has already paid close attention to the whole wilderness. Now he has to compete with Lin Fenglin Yu, two famous old strong men for a long time, which naturally caused a sensation in the whole wilderness. At present, in this dark crowd, there are not only the semi-imperialist strong men who watched 3 days ago, but also the local forces of other parties in the wild ancient city. Among them, the Herbalist Guild and Union Pavilion are not surprised. Unknowingly, it was noon. Lin Fenglin and Yu were already impatient in the void surrounded by countless people. They thought whether Xiao Yang would not fight because of timidity at the critical moment. With their eyes together, the dark old eyes immediately stared at Jiu Li, Red Phosphorus and Shen Laro in Union Pavilion somewhere in the crowd. Seeing these three people, Lin Fenglin and Lin Yu frowned again. Since these two forces have appeared, why doesn't Xiao Yang come? Smelly boy, you dare to trust me in front of me. You will lose your face later. Lin Feng and Lin Yu laughed coldly at the bottom of their hearts. Hehe, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. Some injuries in your body haven't fully recovered since the war 3 days ago, so you're late. Please forgive me. Ha ha. Suddenly, Xiao Yang's clear and heroic laughter suddenly sounded between heaven and earth. Listening to that tone, it seemed that he didn't put the war in his heart at all. When Xiao Yang is preparing to fight with Lin Fenglin and Yu, a plan for Xiao Yang is also going on secretly on the other side. In the wild ancient city, in the north of the city, outside a richly decorated manor, several figures are coming slowly from a distance. These people are Mojai and his party. Looking at the huge manor that is getting closer and closer, the Merzhai people at the moment can't help feeling a sense of shock. The manor covers an area of nearly 1/3 of the north of the city. When the four men came to the manor, they clearly saw that there was a huge square in front of the manor. At the moment, many people had gathered in the square. In the middle of the square, there is an extremely mysterious array. Every time some people in the crowd pay enough spiritual coins to a proud man, they step into the array. A moment later, a golden light flashes along with the array, and the people who enter the array disappear. Mojai's 4 people are not surprised at this. Although this kind of state transmission array is rare, it can their knowledge, but they still can't afford to be curious about this life. In a short moment, the party had come to the porch of the manor and looked up. On the plaque above, 2 glittering characters of Mu Zhuang were impressively engraved. Stop. Who are you? What's the matter with me? Just before they arrived at the entrance, the 2 guards holding weapons shouted coldly at the 4 people. Although Mojai and others are well known in this wild ancient city, and there are not a few people who have seen them, the 2 bodyguards in front of them have never met them, but they have heard a little about their names. Therefore, now 4 strangers appear in front of Mu Zhuang. As a guard, they should stick to their duties. What's more, at ordinary times, anyone who comes to visit Musha doesn't look modest, but these people have a plain look, which makes them believe that these people definitely don't come to visit Musha. Ha ha. For the cold drink words of the 2 guards, Mojai, who had always been unable to hold sand in his eyes, smiled strangely this time, looked up at the plaque and said with a smile, Master Mu, Mojai brought some friends to visit you. Your men are a little overbearing. Before Mojai's voice fell, the 2 guards guarding the gate looked at Mojai, but their faces changed dramatically. They didn't expect that the 4 people who looked ugly in front of them were Mojai and his party who had fought with the Rock Owl in the wild ancient city recently. How about my people? It's not your turn to talk. Come in. Someone will bring you to me. Just when the two bodyguards were secretly frightened, the slightly hoarse voice suddenly spread between the heaven and earth, so that many people on the square not far away turned their eyes. As soon as they saw that the person who was about to enter Muzhuang was Mo Zhai and his party, a look of surprise flashed across their eyes. Some people who were about to leave by using the transmission array also took a step and didn't step into the array in the end. A moment later, in a hall with extremely luxurious decoration, the four men of Mo Zhai were standing in the center of the hall, and in front of them, an old man in robes and with his back to the four stood calmly. It is not difficult to guess that this is Master Mu. What can I do for you? The hoarse voice came out again. Mo Zhai felt that the whole hall was trembling slightly. Yang Bing stared at the figure in front of him with a dignified face and dared not relax at all. Alas! Mu Shi's voice came out in exchange for Mo Zhai's sigh of regret, and a touch of bitterness appeared on his face. This pair of expression was, but it also made people feel sad. Even Yang Bing, who was next to him, couldn't help being surprised in his heart. The speed of entering the play is too fast. Mu Shi, with his back to several people, can't help frowning at this moment. He has nothing to do with Mo Zhai. He came here to cry. If you have something to say, if you have nothing to do, please leave, so as not to disturb me. Alas! Master Mu, come and see off. Mo Zhai's voice didn't fall, but Mu Shi was already impatient. He waved his big sleeve and shouted coldly. At the same time, outside the hall, several waiting bodyguards also hurried into the hall, stood on both sides of the four men, reached out and made an invitation gesture to let them leave. Mo Zhai didn't expect that Mu Shi's temper would be so hot that he would drive people away if he didn't say a word. The three people next to him were also in bad shape. Yang Bing was at least the 8-star-and-a-half emperor, the strongest of the four. At this time, he naturally wanted to be the first to stand up. But just as Yang Bing couldn't help but be about to speak, Mo Zhai turned his eyes and stopped Yang Bing. The latter made a wink, then raised his palm and waved it back gently, and his tone became heavy again. Alas! Well, since Master Mu doesn't want to listen to me, let's leave too. There's no need to disturb others cleaning and repair. The voice fell, and several people didn't say much. They walked outside the hall. When Yang Bing looked at Mo Zhai, he couldn't help but show a smile on his face. Until several people came to the door of the hall, Mo Zhai sighed again. Unfortunately, Wu Mo Hui, but... Boom. Before Mo Zhai's voice fell, the Master Mu in the hall suddenly broke out, and the terrible pressure swept away in an instant. Under the terrible pressure, the bodyguards were crushed into a blood mist after holding on for less than a few seconds. In addition to Yang Bing and Hu Laoge, Zhong Hao and Mo Zhai were directly overwhelmed by the pressure. In particular, Mo Zhai's whole old face turned red at this moment, and two bloodlines flowed out of his ears. What are you talking about? Murphy, what's the matter with him? Uncontrollable rage filled the hall, and the hoarse roar echoed like thunder. But Mo Zhai's red face didn't show the color of fear because of the pressure on him, but showed a very satisfied and cruel smile, just like the devil. Boom. On the void, Xiao Yang's face was dignified. After taking over a palm with Lin Yu, he had not stopped his body, but behind him was a sharp wind. In a twinkling, Lin Yu had come behind Xiao Yang, and his right palm was suddenly waved and blasted at Xiao Yang's vest. Feeling the rapidly approaching terror behind him, Xiao Yang didn't dare to be careless. At this time, it was too late to turn around and fight back. Without hesitation, Xiao Yang moved at his feet, and the Tianjua step was displayed in an instant. The next moment, Xiao Yang's body appeared 100 feet away. Bastard! Do you belong to Loach? Dodging is a strong man. With a fierce drink, Lin Fenglin and Yu roared at Xiao Yang with a gloomy face. Since the war between the two sides, Xiao Yang has only met Lin Feng several times. Whenever Xiao Yang is defeated and Lin Yu is ready to take action, Xiao Yang dodges it with great speed. Therefore, although it seems that there are three people fighting in the field at the moment, in fact, only Xiao Yang and Lin Feng really took action. Oh! Xiao Yang heard the two people's words with one voice, but the corners of his mouth aroused a sneer. Why, you 2 7.5 emperors bully me, and it's just that 1 3.5 emperors doesn't allow me to dodge. Is it difficult for me to stand there and let you fight? As soon as Xiao Yang's words were exported, a group of strong people outside immediately looked at Lin Fenglin and Yu. They whispered. The words were full of ridicule and sneer at Lin Fenglin and Yu. Hey hey! As 7.5 emperors and 2 brothers, they would say such ridiculed words to a 3.5 emperor. Are they sure they're not here for fun? Ha ha. I can't even touch the body of the rock owl. I still want to rob others' empty thunder pool posts. Isn't this a daydream? Hearing the words of ridicule and sneer from the surrounding crowd, Lin Fenglin and Lin Yu's faces were green and white. They really didn't expect that Xiao Yang's speed was so terrible. Based on the idea of suppressing with strength, they are of no use today. They always thought that the reason why Xiao Yang was so powerful was that he relied on his terrible ruler fighting skill. As long as he didn't have time to show it, no matter how powerful his fighting skill was, it was still useless. One of the important reasons why they know little about Xiao Yang's strength is that they arrived at the wild ancient city 3 days ago. What a rock owl. He has sharp teeth and sharp mouth. In that case, I'll see how fast you can be. Lin Feng, Lin Yu and the others shouted loudly at the same time, and then they looked at each other together. With a fierce shock, the waves and cold wind swept the world. When Xiao Yang saw this, his eyes coagulated slightly, his eyebrows wrinkled slightly, and he read in his heart, "Domain." However, at this time, Lin Feng and Lin Yu burst out again. The yin wind is strong. Extremely cold water, accompanied by 2 violent drinks, the cold wind became more violent at this moment. The waves that had swept the whole void merged with the yin wind and complemented each other. In a short moment, the whole void had been covered by cold ice. Feeling the strong pressure suddenly surging around him, Xiao Yang frowned slightly. In the extremely cold field, the void space became extremely viscous. In this field, Xiao Yang's overall strength will be suppressed. In the field of integration, it seems quite good. In that case, I have to speed up and solve you first. Xiao Yang's eyes stared at the forest wind opposite, and a cold killing idea flashed in the depths of his eyes. On the sidelines at the moment, Jiyu Li and others saw that Lin Feng and Lin Yu had displayed the field of integration. They knew that the field was powerful. Jiyu Li could not help showing a look of concern. In this field, once Xiao Yang's speed was limited, he would be bombarded like a storm. Xiao Yang was afraid that he could not afford the cost. Sure. With the blessing of the field, Lin Feng and Lin Yu are more confident that they can solve Xiao Yang within 100 moves. With a burst of breaking wind, Lin Feng's body suddenly flashes. In a moment, he has appeared on Xiao Yang's side, and his right palm suddenly blows hard at Xiao Yang's head. I see how you can escape this time. Xiao Yang sneered. Run. I never thought of running. Lin Feng's complexion changed slightly. He didn't understand what Xiao Yang said. The latter was a sudden shock to the tiger's body. The dragon phoenix's blood in his body was instantly excited. The Vajra glass body was comfortable to use. If he didn't hide, he would blow out his backhand. 8-pole collapse. The power of a fist is unmatched, and the strength of terror is pouring out madly at this moment. The power of this fist has forcibly covered up the Qianjie fighting skills and is threatening people. Bang! The fists and palms intersected. Xiao Yang's incarnation of the golden giant suddenly shocked. The terrible power came out. Lin Feng's body trembled slightly, but he didn't fall down at all. The fighting spirit in the palm gathered rapidly. The right arm shook, and the fighting spirit spewed out. They retreated 100 each. Seeing this familiar scene again, Xiao Yang sneered and wanted to show his Qianjue step. However, it is a pity that the same result as before did not happen to Xiao Yang again. Tianjuebu had just been performed, but the void behind Xiao Yang was distorted, and then a dry palm was firmly printed on Xiao Yang's vest. Bang! With a dull noise, the body of Vajra glaze dispersed. Xiao Yang's body was blown away for thousands of miles, and his mouth also puffed out a mouthful of blood. Although he was hit hard, Xiao Yang quickly stabilized his mind. Although the blow just now was full of power, fortunately, Xiao Yang was protected by King Kong glass body and dragon phoenix blood, which didn't hurt Xiao Yang badly. But Xiao Yang's body shape was not stable, but Lin Feng's figure came face to face, with a sneer on his face, and a palm roared towards Xiao Yang again. Xiao Yang's face changed. He didn't dare to hesitate anymore. His heart moved, and the strange fire in his body swept away in an instant. The field of inflammation, qi. The different fire swept through, and Lin Feng's face suddenly changed. His forward body forcibly stopped on the void, and then he stepped on the void with his right foot. His body didn't advance but retreated, and quickly retreated thousands of miles backward. Bastard! No wonder I felt that the boy's breath was wrong that day. It turned out that he had a strange fire to protect himself, but look at it, it should be just a child fire. Lin Feng and Lin Yu stared at the strange fire swept away with a dignified face. Even if it was only a child fire, it was still a terrible existence for them. The two brothers looked at each other, then nodded gently, turned their eyes to Xiao Yang again, and a violent color suddenly appeared in their eyes. Ice wind. 10,000 miles. The sound of violent drinking fell. Lin Fenglin and Yu raised their palms and stood in front of their chest at the same time. With the touch of their fingertips, cumbersome knots were made rapidly. At the same time, the fusion field formed by the integration of the two people's fields suddenly moved at this moment. The dark wind swept over the cold ice, forming an invisible huge wind roll, which forcibly stopped the spreading strange fire, but Lin Feng's face showed a slightly laborious look. In order to stop Xiao Yang's burning field, he also spent a lot of effort. Drink. While Xiao Yang sneered, Lin Yu on the other side suddenly gave a sharp drink. With a wave of his big sleeve, the cold ice melted and turned into turbulent waves again. With the cold wind, Xiao Yang's strange fire was pressed down in a short moment. After all this, Lin Feng and Lin Yu did not stop at all. They moved their hands together. The field of wind quickly attacked Xiao Yang, and the field of water followed closely. Xiao Yang's face is dignified. The two fields have completely surrounded him. It's impossible to avoid. At this time, Tianzibu can't play any role. Damn, as like as two peas, these two guys are just alike, they are all alike. How can they be so horrific even in the field that they can still merge? Just when Xiao Yang angrily scolds Lin Fenglin and Yu, those two fields have come to Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang is wrapped up in the field of wind. Although he has a heart, wind is an invisible thing. It's so simple to break it. It can't be broken with ordinary brute force. What's more, it's still the field of 7 stars and half emperors. As the two fields approached, Xiao Yang's face could not help showing a surprised look. The water under his feet had turned into ice again. This seems to be preparing to freeze Xiao Yang. On the void, when Lin Fenglin and Yu stopped their actions, Xiao Yang's body was completely frozen. Between heaven and earth, Xiao Yang's breath also dissipated. In this pagoda-like icicle, Xiao Yang, who was frozen, did not move at all, just like a dead man who was frozen to death. Seeing this, the people outside the court couldn't help feeling a trace of pity for Xiao Yang. At other times, Xiao Yang suppressed each other with the potential of different fire. It can be said that he went all the way. Unexpectedly, today, he fell in the hands of Lin Fenglin and Lin Yu. Under the strength of their 7-star and half emperor, coupled with this strange fusion field, it is enough to forcibly suppress Xiao Yang's strange fire. At the moment, Xiao Yang is frozen by them. No matter how you look at it, it is fish on the chopping board and can only be slaughtered by them. Jiu Li and Red Phosphorus outside the court are also extremely worried when they see Xiao Yang's state at the moment. Once Xiao Yang is defeated, the opportunity to enter the void minefield will come to naught. Compared with Jiu Li, the mysterious old man on one side was more confident in Xiao Yang. He participated in the spirit world and his party. After returning, Luo Jin also talked with him about Xiao Yang, and was full of praise for him. He believed that there would be nothing wrong with what he said from the young master of his family. As for Xiao Yang, who is worried by everyone at the moment, he is very helpless to the cold ice in his heart. After Xiao Yang was wrapped by the cold ice, the fighting spirit and strange fire in his body could not be released out of his body. The cold ice completely frozen every pore on Xiao Yang's body surface, and even a crack was not left. Damn! The strange fire can't be released from the body at all, even the fighting spirit can't be used. In this way, it's impossible to smash the ice with brute force. In the cold ice field, Lin Fenglin and Yu detected Xiao Yang who wanted to resist more through the ice, and they gave a sneer at the same time. The cold ice field is formed by the integration of the fields of his brothers. It is much stronger than the general field. Moreover, the water is carried by the wind, which naturally freezes Xiao Yang's body without leaving any gap. This move was completely controlled by his brothers after countless actual battles. Now they show it again. Of course, they are extremely confident. But even so, Lin Fenglin Yu still dared not be careless in his heart. He looked at each other and nodded slightly. Then his body suddenly flashed. In an instant, he appeared outside the icicle where Xiao Yang was frozen. Empty sorrow cut. Condensate arrow. Lin Feng and Lin Yu suddenly burst out loud, and the knots in their hands changed. They saw Lin Feng's big sleeve waved and an invisible fighting spirit, and then blew it hard at Xiao Yang. At the same time, between the heaven and earth, countless arrows condensed by water are suspended in mid-air. The number of arrows even blocks the sight of many onlookers outside the field. At the moment, Xiao Yang is still trapped in the cold ice and can't move. I really think you can trap me for a while and for a lifetime. When Lin Fenglin and Lin Yu wanted to give Xiao Yang the last blow, Xiao Yang gave them a sneer in his heart. Since you can't break it from the outside, melt it from the inside. Drink. Burn. Burn. Different fire. How can you lose to such a dirty thing? The heart suddenly gave a sharp drink, and the strange fire in Xiao Yang's body immediately burned wildly everywhere in the body. However, in an instant, Xiao Yang's body temperature soared to an extremely terrible level. However, even so, as the owner of the different fire, Xiao Yang was not hurt at all. Instead, the cold ice wrapped on Xiao Yang's body surface melted rapidly after the temperature of the different fire broke out. Bang! The body was liberated, Xiao Yang was forcibly recovered, and the momentum in his body was suddenly released at this moment. His majestic power completely crushed the ice that had not yet melted. Ruler. A violent drink shocked the world, and Shen Chongkai fell into his hand. Facing the invisible competition coming, Xiao Yang didn't hide or avoid, so he met him fiercely. Boom! With the explosion ringing through the sky, Xiao Yang vomited blood again and regressed. Until this time, Lin Fenglin and Yu reacted. Xiao Yang broke their ice. Even so, you can't escape the end of losing. Lin Feng drank fiercely, and the countless arrows immediately shot at Xiao Yang with lightning speed. If he is hit by those arrows, Xiao Yang will become a hedgehog in an instant. Hum! The flames devour the wave ruler. In the face of endless arrow rain, Xiao Yang took the attack as his defense. When he kept waving his giant ruler, for a time, he resisted the arrow rain constantly shooting at himself, which was hundreds of feet away. Hum! This arrow depends on how you block it. Seeing that Xiao Yang was so overbearing, he directly stopped the arrow rain. Lin Yu was also angry. His left hand was in the void, and a long bow made of water appeared in his hand. Staring at Xiao Yang, he seemed to be locking the target. His right finger slowly put on the bow string and pulled the string behind his ear. Then, when a sharp breaking wind sounded, another arrow burst out. When the arrow crossed the void, it integrated all the dense arrows into it. However, in a twinkling, it had turned into a giant arrow nearly 100 feet long. The terror and prestige contained in it made people pale. Seeing all the arrows around him melt into the terrible things that can't be called arrows at all, Xiao Yang's face is dignified. If he displays Buddha's anger lotus, he naturally dares to fight with the things in front of him, but at present, time is tight, and he doesn't have time to do more. After all, the 7-star and half emperor is the 7-star and half emperor. If Xiao Yang doesn't use his own means and wants to win them, it will be too difficult. Even if he laughs to the end, he will inevitably be exhausted. But when Xiao Yang was preparing to take the shot and tried his best to block the blow first, what made Xiao Yang's heart more dignified came again. When Xiao Yang was resisting the arrow rain, Lin Feng had already taken the opportunity to detour behind Xiao Yang. An equally terrible breath also condensed rapidly above Lin Feng's head. And now, it's time for him to do it. The two brothers are like-minded and attack each other. They want to solve Xiao Yang in one fell swoop. Although Jiyu Li and others outside the court wanted to remind, it was too late. They couldn't see the situation inside because there were arrows and rain blocking their sight. But when they saw Lin Feng's figure, the fighting skills above his head had been condensed. Looking at Xiao Yang, they had been formed into a potential of attack. There was no way to avoid it. This was the situation of death. Once these two fighting skills fall together, even if Xiao Yang has many means, he will die. But at the moment, these two fighting skills have been blasted to Xiao Yanqi. At this time, it is too late. Lin Fenglin and you are ready to kill Xiao Yang in one fell swoop. In this regard, Lin Fenglin and Lin Yu showed a very cruel smile on their faces. Haven't you heard our sentence? Frozen. Die. This video will end here.